if you're complaining, that's only going to get you more to complain about. And I know that for sure. I learned that lesson the hard way. But what you're complaining about, you're building. You have confidence in building it. But you don't want confidence in building a negative. You want confidence in building a positive life. And it is offered to you. And there's so many more things offered to you. Absolutely free. If you'll only, do what you're told to do. Sit in the silence and feel after him. That's you. Doing, being, having your ideal, your dream, your mission, your goal. What is it that you're looking for? Because that is what's looking for you. Wouldn't you say?
I would say. And you said, you've actually given a prescription. You said, sit in the silence and feel after him. Do, be, having. That's the key. Then you leave the silence and you implement. As he stated earlier, this thing is not rocket science. It's not difficult. As Mr. Lindell will often say, if you were the parent of a child, wouldn't you make it simple? And he reminds us that God has made this simple. The problem is implementation. Would you agree?
Yes. It's the stories. See, people get caught up in the personalities and the stories, and that's not what it's about. There's a message within the message, and that's the essence of what the message says, and that's what you want, and that's what you'll get, but you only get that through revelation. You can hear the stories by the hearing of the ear, and they do bring you the same essence that everyone is looking for, but you have to look beyond the words to see the feeling that was given to you to understand what it is that you're being told. And you can. It is a doable. You're told, be still and know that I'm God. What else would you need to know? Really.
It's true. And I like that you mentioned the stories, because not only are we looking at the stories in, let's say, the scriptures in the Bible, Quran, or whatever religious text that we're studying, we also look at the stories in the world, and we look at the people that are manifesting, and we say, well, their story says this, but it ultimately comes down to your story. Would you agree?
Yes. Look, it's all about you, the individual. That's who it is. I am with you always. You. You are a you, aren't you? So I'm with you always. I will never leave you. Come on. He's telling it to you very plainly. Hey, I'm right here with you. Right here with you. Yes, right now. Why won't you turn to me? I told you I'd turn to you if you turned to me. Isn't that good enough for you? That should be good enough, don't you think?
I do. And as you often stated, there's really only one turning, because God has already turned towards us. Would you agree?
That's it. He said he already said yes to everything. He's not saying, God's not denying you anything. And you say, well, look at the condition I'm in. Hey, they themselves are makers of themselves. And he gave you choose this day. If you don't like what you've made of yourself, well, take a new route, take a new idea, take a new attitude, take a new adventure. It's right with you. All you have to do is sit in the silence, be still, and go anywhere you want to go. But you can do so. I can tell you, I know you can do so. But it's the doing it. That's where people get hung up, isn't it?
We get back to that doing, that action. You said he said something. He said yes to everything. And what we have to understand with the everything is that everything is everything. So that's the good, the bad, the indifferent, or the ugly. Would you agree?
That's right. That's absolutely right. And he said, there's only God. He's all things to all. Doesn't that resonate with you on all? It doesn't all mean all. He's all things to all. But he's allowed you to choose what the things will be, right?
right? That's a lot of responsibility.
Oh, absolutely. It's forming your life moment by moment. It's pretty serious, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I think that, the power in thinking about this is that, what we don't want to do, is look back on our life and say, man, I could have made different choices. Choose you this day.
That's right. That's right. It's the one. It's the day you do it all, then, this day. You can't do it in the yesterday, and you can't do it in the tomorrow. You got to do it today. And that's what you're encouraged to do. Do a thing, and you shall have the power. See, you're operating the power. I don't care if you're being a cruel person. You're still operating the power. You understand, God said that if God didn't do it, it wasn't done. So whatever you're doing, God is the power of what you're doing. He's not necessarily agreeing with what you're doing, but he's going along with you because he gave you choice. Choose this day. And you're doing so aware or unaware. All we're trying to do is to make you aware that you are choosing. What are you choosing? That's the question, isn't it?
It is. And you said that, God is the power behind the doing, which he absolutely is. But we reap the harvest of the seeds of the doing. So if we're doing something that's negative, then you reap the harvest of that negative harvest. Would you agree?
That's it. And then as you sow, you reap.
Absolutely.
And believe me, the reaping usually is not that fun because it depends on what you've planted.
Yeah, don't want to dwell on that, but understand the reaping tends to multiply. So you sow a single seed, you never reap a single harvest. Would you agree?
Absolutely, you're right. I mean, come on. Look at the abundance he gave you. You take a little tiny seed between two fingers and put it in the ground, and it grows a big tree and gives fruit. And then in the fruit are thousands and thousands of seeds that are sown around. He gave you abundance, but we're not using it wisely. That's all they're saying about the climate change and all that. We're not using things wisely. We're not actually minding our business, and our business is taking care of the world because the world is taking care of us, right?
You're absolutely correct. Somebody had inquired, she says, what is it that Mr. Lindell thinks about COVID and everything going on in the world? I said, to be honest with you, we don't give a lot of conversation to that because that's not what we want to manifest in our world. And somebody else followed and said, I focus on the world events because, I need to know what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I know. But actually, think of this. Beforehand, you're to mind your own business. If your business is running fine, then you can accept other things. But if your business isn't running fine, then you got no business looking at somebody else's business, right?
That's absolutely correct. And it's actually very wise said because, a lot of times we're dealing with chaos ourselves in our own lives because of where we allowed our thoughts to run amok. And then we watch the chaos on the news and it adds to the chaos that we have in our own lives, and we can't handle what we already have going on. Back to what you said. So it's important that we first and foremost mind our business to make sure that our affairs are in order before we try to take on the affairs of the world. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. And that was it. That I was doing the very same thing. You see, in other words, you have to get your own attention. You see, you're not paying attention to what you're thinking and feeling often enough to guide your life the way you want it to go. And if you would take the time to order your conversations aright, as a matter of fact, God tells you that if you order your conversations aright, you will be shown salvation. And what is salvation? It's the answers, the solutions to whatever your problems are that you can get out of it. And you're given an out. You're given a positive out. And all you have to do is sit in the silence and dwell upon it. What is my escape? Just do that, and you'll find it. Because it says to the Lord belongs escape. Doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Well, if you want to escape it, you can do so. Turn around and walk away. The attitude, awareness, and imaginational control, they're your stepping stones out. Just arrange your own conversations in line with what your dream, your mission, your goal is, and you'll have it. Wouldn't you say?
I would say, and I think that that's a very powerful message for us to understand that as we think about, give attention to our inner conversations, then, of course, depending upon what we're giving our attention to, will in fact determine what's being manifested in our world. Would you agree?
Choose this day. That's what you're choosing. You're told you're praying ceaselessly. Understand? You're told you're praying ceaselessly. That means without stopping. Yes, right. What are you saying? What is it that you're praying about? What are your feelings? What are you thinking feelingly about when you're praying, when you're choosing, when you're making a decision? See, these things have to be sorted out in your own mind, because you're not somebody else, and you may not think like somebody else, and so they can't really help you in the final idea of you dressing your world. And you are dressing your world with every thought is adding to or taking from your world of experiencing, be they lovely and of good report or not. So you're always in charge, even if you're out of control. But that's the problems that you have, is being out of control, not choosing your conversations as success. Why not? You're given choose. There's success and there's failure. Why not choose success? You don't have to make it so. You only have to choose it so. That's the beauty of it. We were given a valid say, and you're about saying your valid say, but just ask yourself often, saying what? Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And you said something, and I know that it could be missed. I want to say, you said, you don't have to make it so. You have to choose it so. And that's it. When we understand no actions required, it's not about what we're doing solely, it's what we're giving our attention to. So if I choose, for example, success, the natural byproduct is a life of me choosing those avenues of success, not just, it flows through. If you truly choose it, life will follow. Would you agree?
Yeah, no matter where you go. Like I said, standing on the platform there in Texas, watching the train go by, and there I was in every window. Every window, there I was. You're always with you. You can't get away from you. I am with you always. I will never leave you. Wherever you are, I am there also. So if you're in church and a guy says he doesn't feel like God is in the church, well, he is if you're there. But are you paying attention? Are you recognizing that he's there with you? I mean, if they're not telling you that, then they're not telling you the truth, because he is with you. He's no respecter of persons. He'll be with you if you're really a whatever. It's you thinking about you. How are you thinking about you, and about what? Because it's as you think you are. Feel after him and you'll find him. You can be as beautiful as you want to be if you really want to be. And you want to be when the hunger comes upon you to know first person, and you can change your mind, change your world. Isn't that the way it works?
It is exactly how it works, and I love that little ending there. You said that you can be as beautiful as you want to be by choosing to be, and you can be as successful, you can be as lovingly, you can be as whatever it is that you choose to be by simply choosing to be. But you gave two examples, and I want to go back to those examples because they were beautiful. You said, I'm standing on the train platform, and every car that goes by, I'm looking in the windows of each car that goes by, and I'm seeing my own reflection. So wherever you are, there you are. Then you said about church. You said, somebody goes and says, God's not in the church. And you said something wonderful for the listener. You said, God is in the church if you're in the church. And I just wanted to repeat those things for the listener so that they can understand that the reflection that you're seeing is God in you.
That's it. You are all things, and you're given to be all things. And I'm with you always. All the help you need is nearer than hands and feet. So where would you go looking for it if it's nearer than hands and feet? Like I said before, Jesus said it very plainly. I of myself can do nothing. The Father within, He does all the work. He's telling you, I'm a man just like you. And the Father is with me just like He's with you. So you have a contact, but you don't recognize it. And that's what you need to do. Sit down, be still, and recognize I am with you always. And I am, and I will be. If you turn to me, I'll turn to you, because it's only one turning. Isn't it?
It is. Just one. Just one. It goes back to, the operant and power. God in you doing the work. Yes, you're the vehicle of choice, and you're the chooser choosing, but all things that are done is being done through the power, the one power, the only power, which is God in each one of us. Would you agree?
That's it. He gave you choose this day. Well, what are you choosing? Just ask yourself, what are you choosing? You are choosing. You're doing something. From the time you get up in the morning to fall asleep at night, you're doing something. What? What is it? Is it making your life better? Or are you just whining and crying about things that are happening? People spend so much time worrying about what they don't want that they have no time to think on things that are lovely and of good report. And that's a simple solution if you'll take it, isn't it?
I love it. I love that you said they spend so much time thinking about what they don't want, that they don't have time. And this is so true. The reason why I love it is because I've talked to enough people to realize that this is true, that they can tell you everything in the world that they don't want. Then I will ask the question, but okay, so what do you want? And the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. How am I supposed to know? How are you supposed to know? Make up your mind.
Make a decision. And the truth of the matter is, many of us have never consciously made a decision of who it is that we want to be. There's some very powerful people out there that I know, that I've talked to, that I communicate with. And the truth of the matter is, they just have not determined to be powerful.
Well, hey, as you think you are, that's scripture. That's it, isn't it?
It is it. You spoke about earlier about God doing it all. And scripture says, I heal, I kill, I make alive. Love, hate. When God says that He's doing all this, He's doing it through us.
That's right. Right. Your world is coming through you. It isn't coming to you. So that's why you're told not to judge by appearances. And also, you're told not to imagine mischievous imaginings, because then you experience them. And then you walk around complaining about them, and then when you complain about it, you get more of the same thing to go through again. They themselves are makers of themselves. Understand that is the law. You are makers of yourself because God gave you choose this day. You are about doing so. The fact that you're aware or unaware, that's what you want to really check up on, isn't it?
It is. And going back to what you just stated, whether you're aware or unaware, you're creating. The question is, are you able to become more aware? And of course, the answer is, of course you can. But you have to begin to want to be aware, to become more conscious of what it is that you're giving your attention to. And Mr. Lindell has often given you the key to this, setting in the silence. Now, many of you don't want to practice getting quiet because maybe you're afraid of what you're going to hear in the silence. But that's the only way that you're going to learn to control what it is that you're giving your attention to. Would you agree?
Yes, and you said it right there. You know, it's the story of Job. See, that which I have feared has come upon me. So what is he thinking about? What he fears. So if you're thinking upon what you're fearful of, then that's what you're going to experience, because as you think, you are. So, and understand, if you're told by God to think only on things that are lovely and of good report, and as you think you are, there it is, very plainly spelled out for you, isn't it?
It is.
How much plainer would you need it? See, we're just not focusing. That's all there is to it. In other words, Neville would call your attention is the coin of heaven. And that's what it is. You're purchasing what? With your thinking and feeling. What are you purchasing? Have you made purchases you don't like? Well, then give them back and go on your way. Change your mind, change your world. Today is a new start, a brand new start. Change it. Change your mind, change your world. Couldn't repeat that often enough. I know I get talked to about how many times I say things, but that's because it's so important to have the foundation. If you don't have a firm foundation, then the rest of it just doesn't seem to gel and make any sense. You have to have a foundation of understanding. First of all, there is only God, period. That's number one. Number two, He has given you choose this day. God has given you choose this day. What are you choosing? That's what you're experiencing, isn't it?
It is. It is. And as you often will say, it's working through us, not to us.
Right. That's why you're told not to judge by appearances, because then you just keep repeating the same old, same old, same old. And people say, well, I'm so bored with life. You're not supposed to be bored. You're supposed to be adventurous. We're all adventurers. You're supposed to be an adventurer of mind, not physical. I mean, that's okay too, but mind is what's important, because it's as you think you are, right?
It's true. And I find that often when we're bored, it's because we're self-seeking, not seeking how we can serve. But those who are busy serving, they don't have time to be bored. Would you agree?
Right. That's right. But you see, also, though, you have to understand what you're actually feeling. You know, the woman told me, she says, well, I don't understand. My prayers aren't being answered. I go to church 3 days a week. I offer all my services and all for free, and yet I'm not healed. Why? Why is that? Well, why is that? Can you tell her why?
As you think. You are.
That's it. See, it's so simple to remember, but you have to bring it up often to remember to bring it up often, right?
It's true. It's true.
Sure. It's no different than when you're in school. As I say, You learn your ABCs and your timetables and all that. How? Over and over and over and over. And that's the same thing you do with this. I mean, what you're focused on is what you're doing. So what you're doing lets you know what you've been focused on, right?
Absolutely. Speaking of the person looking for healing, a relationship, abundance, whatever, there's many people that are going to give you quick formulas. And they're going to tell you, in 4 minutes, you're going to be able to manifest this. If you don't get into the mindset of as you think you are, you can practice all the formulas in the world. You can practice the 3 seconds to 7 seconds, based off of my book, the 4-minute prayer, whatever. As you think you are. Would you agree?
Right. Whether you planned it or not. That's it. As you think you are. That's as simple as that. And the thing of it is, you see, you have to learn to be patient, because you can't say, I thought that last night and there was nothing this morning. Yeah. Well, yeah, a little more to building your foundation than that. But it is true that as you think you are. So if you got it 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 50 degrees, that's it. What degree of having it together have you got? I mean, attitudes. It's our attitudes. I mean, all these books I have up here on the shelves, it tells you about the single thing that was evident in all the books was that it's man's attitude. And your attitudes come to you in many different ways. So you might pick up an attitude from somebody that you like, but the attitude that you picked up isn't all that great. But still, we do that because we're taken advantage of if we listen to them. And you don't want to listen to everyone's story. In fact, sometimes people tell you, "Oh God, I asked how she was, and that was it." The story went on and on and on. You see, what we do is, if we tell other people that we feel bad, then they know we feel bad. And so what you're doing is you're spreading the news that you don't feel good. What you need is just shut up and be still and know that I'm God. That's simple, isn't it?
It is simple. And I like that you talked about, we have to be mindful of who we're telling our story to and what story we're telling, because what happens, as Mr. Lindell says, it's being multiplied. So now it's not just one person talking about it, it's two, and two turns into 10, and 10, 100. And now you got all these people praying for you. And when I say praying for you, they're thinking that negative thought about your health. So the only thing you're doing is multiplying the condition that you're in, as opposed to telling a better story about what it is that you want to be experiencing in your life. Would you agree?
Yes. Why would someone want to sit and think on the things that they wish would go away? Why do they do that? How do they think they're helping themselves if they're doing that? I mean, you're told that what you think upon, that's what you get. If you're seeing it as a bad situation, well, that's what it is, because that's the way you see it. Your word is valid. You're told, say your word, and you're doing so. What are you experiencing? Your word. Was it lovely and of good report? And if not, why not? You're given choice, isn't that right?
Absolutely.
People just want to know what you did to be successful.
The 4 CDs that I have out there, it's all there. If you took any one of the CDs and actually followed through on what you understood there, you could change your mind, change your world. All you have to do is just listen to the CDs. It's always reiteration and reiteration.
I want to go back to the 4 CD set. Go to metaphysicalarttheater.com. We can only mail in the U.S. right now, but for those who are outside the U.S., we can send you a digital bundle with everything so you'll get the enjoyment without waiting for it in the mail. Matter of fact, those who are in the U.S., if you would rather have the digital copies, we can do that as well. Metaphysicalarttheater.com.
As we're bringing it to a close and we're talking about not to judge according to appearance, what would you say to the listener in closing?
Well, I have to just bring it down very simple, that as you think you are. Because that's really the whole story. What you're thinking about, the feeling that you have because of what you're thinking about is building your world of experience, and it's also your confidence. So if it's negative, then it's not a good confidence. It really, you just have to be mindful of what you're doing and thinking. That's all. That's just as simple as that. That's as religious as the world needs to be. It's just to monitor their own self-talk to see that they're not leading themselves into a problem. Because if you are, and you see it, then you can change it, because you're thinking ahead of the evidence that you will be experiencing. So you have choice. Use it wisely, right?
I would absolutely agree. Sir, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Well, we'll talk to you soon, and you have a great and wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great one, sir.